Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Um, I'm Chris Pastore, the director of the Master of Liberal Arts program, and I'm happy to welcome you to our September virtual info session about the program. I'm here with a colleague, Akil Abdul Rahman from LPS, and we're happy to answer some questions you have, share some information about the program, and maybe help you understand if it's going to be a good fit. So as I said, I'm the program director of the Master of Liberal Arts here in Liberal and Professional Studies. We're one of the three divisions of the School of Arts and Sciences at Penn. LPS is the oldest continuing ed division in the Ivies. It was the first place women and minorities could actually earn degrees, set up for some teachers, evening work, well over 100 years ago. So it's been a great place for non-traditional students, part-time, full-time students from other areas that didn't find that Penn programs were otherwise flexible or accessible to them. They could come through liberal and professional studies. And we're really pleased and proud that we've been offering educational opportunities to non-traditional students for so many years. So it's really great to work in the School of Arts and Sciences at LPS to do that. It's also really nice to run the MLA because it's one of the rare super flexible individualized graduate programs out there, and one of the unusual opportunities for graduate studying liberal arts here at Penn. There are programs like the Master of Liberal Arts at other universities, Johns Hopkins, University of Chicago, Stanford, San Diego State. All kinds of programs have Masters of Arts in Liberal Studies, Masters of Liberal Arts, and other things. And they're oftentimes these create your own major programs with some concentrations or certificates, but also many totally individualized programs of study. So it's a kind of cool type program. So if you poke around, you may find them at other institutions close to home or with different offerings or that run on different schedules. But the Penn Master of Liberal Arts is a pretty distinct opportunity, primarily because of our situation here as a program, a master's degree offered by Penn in the School of Arts and Sciences. It's a 9-course unit program. Penn doesn't really use credits. So a 3 or 4 credit course at many institutions would be 1 course unit. It's 9 course units. That usually means 8 graduate courses plus a final capstone. That's a required written work that many people take as their 9th and final class. It's an interdisciplinary master's degree. As I said, it's kind of like a create your own major or concentration at the graduate level that you create based on graduate courses offerings, both on the MLA roster in the evening, other LPS rosters, and SAS graduate rosters for master's and PhD programs. It can be done full-time or part-time. It also pursued on campus, and even we've had students pursuing it online now, either fully or in part, sort of a low residency model, as we've tried to add some more online course offerings. When you're in this program, you create your own unique course of study. So you pick courses that interest you and pull them together around a concentration theme that you identify. That's hopefully going to let you to scratch some intellectual itches and then develop some core knowledge, learn some things in some different disciplines you may not have taken courses in before at undergrad, and also prepare to write that final MLA capstone paper. And in the process, you then declare your own distinct, unique, individualized concentration, and we post that on your transcript. So you earn a Master of Liberal Arts at Penn with a concentration in something like social media and culture in the 21st century or something like that. We've got a whole range of interesting programs that people have developed, everything from environmental studies topics and sustainability to applied economics and marketing to women in China, with sort of gender studies programming. So there's a lot of cool stuff. And in the process of taking art classes in the liberal arts, much like in an undergrad liberal arts degree, you explore different disciplines. You can't take more than 4 courses in one area. So you can't take like 8 art history courses. You have to take some courses from art history and visual studies, maybe psychology, maybe anthropology, maybe East Asian studies if you're working on some aspect of visual arts and culture, in contemporary China, let's just say. After you explore these different methods and learn some of the disciplinary approaches to unpacking this, you sort of develop your own research agenda for that final capstone that you complete with a couple of Penn instructors or faculty members. Now, why do people do an MLA? A lot of people do it just for personal enrichment. They're really excited to study something, get themselves out of the headspace they're in at work all day. They might do this part-time over 3 or 4 years. We also have some folks do it when they're thinking about retirement. They want to know about the second act in life or use it for career transition. So it can also be relevant for career development for a lot of individuals. We've had a lot of students that took courses to get back in the classroom for intellectual engagement, but it actually has really helped them in the workplace because you grow a lot of those power skills of written and oral communication. You become better at time management. You are able to do project management by developing your own concentration and building that research piece at the end. It's also cool because it's like a focused course of study. It's not just taking a course here and there. It's not doing a great books program. It's not kind of going online and taking a Coursera course or being in a book club. You're really going to dig in, do really intensive graduate level reading, talk those topics out and ideas out in seminar discussions with faculty and students, and really you're going to have a chance to experience this rigorous intellectual environment. It's great also because then in the classroom, we have a range of ages and background in all of our graduate programs, but in the MLA particularly, median age is in the 30s, people full-time and part-time from all walks of life. And it's kind of cool to network with those students and other graduate students, as well as the faculty that you'll meet in your classes. It's also great because we're really flexible, full-time, part-time. We've had people start part-time and go to full-time and vice versa based on their work scenario. We've had people take just, 1 or 2 courses a year and do it over 4 or 5 years. We have people do it full-time in 3 terms and finish in like 12 months. And at the end of this is great. You get a professional credential from Penn by earning a degree in this really sort of rich, rigorous academic environment. And it'll challenge you to really become sort of a better version of yourself as you learn some really cool stuff. And you can do that in an institution that is one of the oldest universities in the US, debatable whether it's the first university, but it's really the first university that wasn't founded as a seminary for religious instruction. It has great libraries, 23 different libraries and tons of virtual resources, great academic support, all kinds of opportunities to do research with faculty on campus. And then you also have the opportunity to experience not just the School of Arts and Sciences, but you can take up to 2 courses outside SAS in the other schools, the 11 professional schools, ranging from Wharton Business to Edinburgh School of Communications. People take fine arts courses from Penn Design. People take courses in the nonprofit leadership program, which is really cool. And all the faculty at all 12 schools are ongoing and doing continual research, and they're bringing that new research, those new ideas, right into graduate classrooms, so it can be a really, really rewarding and fascinating experience. You can make it even more interesting by going pretty broadly across liberal arts. SAS has 26, I think it might have 27 departments now because Cinema Media Studies was moving from a program to a department. There are also a range of 20 plus interdisciplinary programs, ranging from things like, gender, sexuality, women's studies to urban studies. There's also, so there's a wide range of graduate offerings in all of these departments and programs. And those courses are taught by outstanding faculty, over 450 standing faculty in the School of Arts and Sciences and another several hundred affiliates, lecturers, and adjuncts. So there's a ton of great teaching faculty who, as I said, are also doing research and folding that into their teaching and your course experience. And as you find some interest and they start to kind of become more coherent or coalesce, then the question is defining that concentration or pursuing one of our certificates as your concentration or in addition to a concentration, and building out that core area of interest, because that's going to be the nest where your capstone will live at the end of their program when you write that final research paper or creative capstone. We have a number of people do creative writing in our program. The concentration, as I said, is a really interesting thing. And this is a snapshot of some concentrations from the past year, ranging from media and communications to philosophy and moral judgment. We've had people do things on existential agency. That was really fascinating. A guy who's a trial attorney was really interested in looking at how people recognize that they are drivers of things that happen in their lives, and what that means from a philosophical and sort of anthropological and cultural point of view. Had folks do East Asian and religious studies, risk and behavior studies, really, really interesting, cool stuff. So I totally recommend considering the idea of branching out, trying something new in your first course, go in a different direction in your second course, dabble a little bit in the first 3, then zero in your concentration in courses 4 to 6, email me, bounce ideas off. We declare that concentration. You fill gaps in course 7 and 8, write that capstone, and you're off and running. But to finish, as I said, you have to write that final written capstone paper. It's not really like an MA or PhD thesis. It's not generally based on unique new research that you've traveled for years in archives and studied and brought new research in. A lot of it's based on secondary sources and material research you began in your courses and then expanded in your research for the capstone. But it also brings a lot of interesting ideas and a chance to be pretty original. Chris Yang, as an advisee of mine last year, did a really cool project. He was interested in the arts, the business of art at the auction market, but also really interested in cryptocurrency, digital business, and NFTs. So he wrote a really interesting capstone on the history of the non-fungible token and how they relate to blockchain, the technology that manages crypto, and how that related to digital art primarily in terms of creation, acquisition, collection, and also as a commodity and as an investment. So it's really cool because he studies sort of the history of collecting, a little bit about the auction marketplace and the marketplace of ideas, and how the art market and traditional art market was responding to or being influenced by the digital marketplace, not just for NFTs, but for a lot of other commodities. He took courses ranging from digital media and economics, in that concentration in cultural diversity, global connections, building nonprofits, courses on fundamentals of financial managerial accounting, and sociology course on media platform and experience, which was pretty cool. Dana Sanshore, who was a professional writer, did a really interesting, cool capstone called Missing on the Main Line, with personal exploration of true crime podcasts. She took courses and had concentration in writing and culture that ranged from like children's lit, cultural diversity and global connections, to writing for social media and professional academic writing, and then courses in things, gender studies, and psychology, like body image and fashioning gender. So she took some kind of professional writing courses, some courses that expanded her writing in new ways, and some content courses, and pulled them all together in this interesting exploration of the history of the true crime podcast, how they're developed, how they grab their audience, how they tell stories. So it's kind of an interesting analysis of this, let's say, new vehicle for engaging with listeners, with an audience. And then in the process, actually developed her own true crime podcast, launched it, ran several episodes, slowly but surely recruited some more viewers in an effort to learn more about a missing person case that happened some years ago, where someone went to work on the main line, sort of south, west of Philadelphia on the train, and was never seen again. And so she really was interested in this idea of true crime, used to oftentimes be in novels and journalists and newspapers and the print media, and how that's living in this new media space and what it means. Matt Malone, who was primarily studying courses in sort of areas of philosophy and literature, really interested in the history of ideas, developed his core concentration in philosophy and culture, and he mixed in things like art history, literature, religious studies courses, courses like Emotion and Power, Benjamin on Kafka, a literature course on Chaucer's Canterbury Tales and other stories, and a great philosophy course on Freud, the interpretation of culture. And he pulled these things together in the end in a creative capstone. He did really fabulous work in his essays and his papers and academic topics on theory and philosophy and art and visual culture. But in his one course with Emily Steiner, professor here at Penn in the summer several years back, on Chaucer, the final assignment was to write a new and undiscovered fictional story by Geoffrey Chaucer that would have been part of his cycle of stories collected into the Canterbury Tales. And he was so fascinated by this, he was like, you know what, I'm going to try something new. He could always hoping to go into a PhD in philosophy. He was going to do more academic work. And this was an interesting exercise in figuring out the creative process, how to write fiction, why people write fiction, and what it means to readers. So he wrote a 3-part story that he called The Dream of the Stables, and he analyzed it through fictitious scholars and critics. So he created this Dream of the Stables, a new Chaucerian story. Then he created an analysis of this story in notes and footprints in the artifactual and now analytical piece that would hover around a great work of literature with 3 imaginary cultural critics and scholars. And then he had a person write the preface to this collected and analytics analysis and publication of the fictional story, and broke this down, sort of got a guiding voice to talk about how Chaucer understood contemporary philosophy in what we think of as the Renaissance literary world of early modern England. Really pretty cool. It was deeply layered. It was both the Chaucerian story, 3 imaginary critics based on real individuals that he studied in his analysis of philosophy and literature, and then a sort of guiding force, almost like the equivalent of academic editor of a journal or somebody themselves who might be a Chaucer scholar. Really, really incredible, cool work on Boethius and the idea of knowing things, real and imaginary, and all based on his really interesting story of a traveler who's on the road, goes to sleep. The only place there is to sleep is the stable. And in the stable, he has a genius and a spirit appear to him and engage this individual with a discussion of universals, ideals, and structural realities. What it means to be solid and what it means to be an idea. Really fascinating thing to read, astounding thing to write. Students get to these cool projects by taking both MLA courses on our evening roster and other graduate level course offerings. So some of the courses that are coming up in spring 2025 should be really great. A history course by Warren Breckman. It's an MLA Pro Seminar. Everyone has to take one MLA Pro Seminar. I think we'll have 4 in the spring, maybe 5. Usually you do one as one of your first 3 classes. And they're interdisciplinary courses taught by School of Arts and Sciences standing faculty. Warren is really interested in the history of the First World War, but also in memoirs, diaries. His grandfather, I think it was his great-grandfather, was actually a member of the Canadian Army deployed in France during the Great War and the First War. And he wrote a sort of diary memoir, a journal of his experiences. And Warren thought it was a really interesting thing to compare and contrast to other stories about individual experiences during the war and the way historians characterize and describe the war. So his approach to this is talking about the Great War in people's memory through their memoirs, looking at these kinds of journals and diaries that many folks kept. Eileen Doherty-Sill, who is an adjunct faculty in the political science department and really interested in human rights and global politics, is doing a cool course on conflict and cooperation in global politics, looks at government entities, NGOs, private industry, the diplomatic corps, how all these different entities convince people to work together, and then what happens when that goes well and when that kind of cooperation breaks down. Zach Vickers, who's going to be new to teaching for LPS, is one of the instructors in creative writing at Penn, and he's going to teach an online course on screenwriting. That should be really fascinating. We have a lot of folks, as I said, interested in creative writing. We've had a couple of capstones where people wrote screenplays for movies, one of which I think is currently being optioned, so that's pretty cool. So it might be a really interesting course for those who've been interested in writing to explore a different genre. And Jackie Sadashige, who is a PhD in classics, but has a real driving interest in gender studies, is teaching a course again she developed a couple of years ago on the history of fashion and how that's connected to gender identity and how we describe identity and how individuals create or sort of project their own identity oftentimes through their decisions about what to wear and how to appear in the world. After the MLA, folks go on to do PhDs. I've had folks go to Oxford, Yale, Stanford, University of California, Temple and Penn. There are a lot of folks also that do it as a way station or a way to build some new content and new areas of interest and apply for grad programs in law schools and business schools. And a lot of folks have gone on to really wonderful careers based on using the MLA as an academic bridge, if you will. A lot of folks also that are working full-time and taking this part-time have advanced their careers by getting new knowledge, new confidence, improving their communication skills, and also really becoming sort of stronger in those core areas of engagement with yourself, with content, and with other people and trying to explain that content. So we found a lot of folks have actually had really great success in moving up in their industry or even making career changes, moving diagonally or laterally and going on to new things. And then I think the big takeaway, particularly if you approach this with a sort of an interest in academic pleasure, sort of fun, learning is fun. If it's not, I don't recommend sticking with graduate program. But if you're doing something and you really love the material, it's easier to do the reading, it's easier to write the paper, and you really also have better takeaways, better outcomes with the individual courses and the program later. And some alumni have told us, really, it just reinforces a commitment to lifelong learning, doing something like the Master of Liberal Arts here at Penn, and it really helps in terms of personal growth, which is a really great return on your investment. To apply, it's online. We're moving to a new application platform. It's up and running for spring. The deadline for spring 2025 is November 1st. If you're an international student applying and need a full-time attendance and a visa, we recommend you apply by October 1st. For summer, April 1st, and fall, July 1st. It's rolling. We would read applications for spring, summer, or fall now, and as soon as they're complete, we'd set up an interview and discuss your interest and try and make sure that we're a good fit, MLA, Penn, and you as a student. You can get more information on the LPS website, www.sas.upenn.edu/LPS, stands for Liberal and Professional Studies. The program is set up 9 course units. You pay per course. There's no like full-time tuition. There's no reduction in that by being full-time. Like if you take more than 4 courses, if you're full-time, sometimes extra courses don't add. We just charge by the course. So you pay one at a time. Right now, the 24-25 tuition and fees add up to $56.90 a course. If you're international, you would need to be full-time for your visa, and that's 3 or 4 course units. There is financial aid available for domestic U.S. citizens who are students in the form of loans, subsidized federal aid if you're taking 2 or more course units, but we don't have any scholarships or fellowships in the program proper. I'm happy to answer any questions you have, so fire away. I'm going to stop the share and happy to answer any questions that you have.